Hey, thanks for listening. Please subscribe to our newsletter at theproductporch.com for notifications on the latest episodes and exclusive content.
There's a large number of people that have internal products as product managers. Define market for an internal product.
So then the question is, are they really practicing product? Or is product market fit not essential?
Once in a while, I'll have a meaningful contribution on this podcast. That's it.
Once in a while, come on now, bro. Yeah. By the way, I think 80% of our podcasts start with something from you.
Okay.
Welcome to the Product Porch with Joe Ghali, Todd Blaquiere, and me, Ryan Cantwell. Today, we debate where the most popular frameworks, tools, and principles fall on the product management tier list. Now settle in, folks, because on the Product Porch, every topic is a product topic. How many is this now? 20?
All right.
Yeah.
So glad to see you guys again. I have a topic I think is going to be a lot of fun. One time in church, someone used this analogy for the gospel where they talked about a spinning top. And they're saying how it's balanced when it's in motion, and it's made up of multiple bands, like starting in the center and moving outward. And the closer it is to the center, the more solid and unshakable it is. But once you move outward, things get more flexible, they get looser, more debatable. Anyway, cool analogy. But that image is stuck in my head for years. And recently I started thinking about this around product management. Like, what is the product version of that top? So I know I gave you both homework. I asked you guys to take that idea and build your own product top.
Yep.
And I had you guys define your bands and then tell me what's inside each of them. Mm-hmm. You're laughing, Ryan, which makes you think I did something weird.
No, you didn't do anything weird at all. I'm laughing at myself because you beautifully laid out like an awesome image of a top, and I twisted it and put it in another image on top of it. And you
a hat on a hat.
A hat on a hat.
I just followed the instructions exactly as I was told. So there's nothing, my imagination was pretty limited on this one, but I completed the assignment. So you can tell who was better at art class than elementary school.
Well, there's no winners or losers here. This is just what we think. I'm really excited to hear how you broke up the top into pieces. And I'm really excited to hear how you defined it. So maybe Ryan, let's start off with you and then we'll go to Joe. What are the names of your bands?
Okay. Are you ready for my analogy on an analogy?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's an ice cream cone.
Okay.
So.
Oh, gosh.
All right. Imagine you've got a beautiful waffle cone, and it's an ice cream cone. At the very bottom, the tip of the ice cream cone are the unchanging things. These are the non-negotiables. If you're doing these, you're not doing product. Let me give you an example of one.
If you're not doing those, you're not doing product.
If you're not doing one of these things, you're not doing product. Here's an example of one. You are not the user.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay.
That was really good.
So what was the first one called again?
The cone tip.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't have a name. It's just called the cone tip.
The cone tip. Yep.
Oh, okay. Keep going. By the way, I mean, when you buy the ones in the supermarket, I forget what they're called. They're just come in like little pre-packet drumsticks.
Yes.
Yeah,
and they have the chocolate at
that
the bottom.
last bite.
Is the best.
It's just
the
like
chocolate.
Yeah,
The chocolate at the bottom.
So that's the cone tip I'm talking about. With the chocolate sealing everything in, it is
It's yummy.
Yes, exactly. It is delicious and structurally perfect. Like that's what I'm talking about. All right. So the next band up from that, the cone body, not the tip, but the cone body. Structurally important. If it gets cracks in it, things are going to leak, but it still holds it kind of together. These are our beliefs, like deep-seated beliefs on how great product work should operate. Here's another example of that. You must prioritize, but everything cannot be number one. So, of course, what goes from there? Your first scoop of ice cream. Okay. So these are our best practices. A little squishier, right? Not quite as structurally important. They're common, sensible things that we do as product people. And your context kind of determines what's happening here. It's not as important because it's like picking a flavor, right? All right. So this might sound something like we're going to use OKRs to align on outcomes.
Okay.
Because we have different ways to do that. It could be OKRs. You can see that. But using it could be important to kind of your culture and things like that. And then finally, you've got a second scoop. And these are more like organizational level defaults, but are replaceable in my mind. So it could be like, all right, we're using Miro or Mural to collaborate, right? We're kind of like using that tool. There's my example there. And the final thing, my fifth band would be the cherry on top. Think about that as like ceremonies, right? We're going to do a stand-up. Like, okay, so what? Okay, well, it's just how we go about doing business. So I've kind of broken it down at those 5 levels. And Todd, I'm going to speak your language for a second. This came from a place of the cone tip, laws. Cone body, doctrine. First scoop, principles. Second scoop, policy. Final scoop, tools and trends.
Oh, we got some similarities. I'm excited. To get into these ice cream cones and tops as we dig in. Joe, did you create a new metaphor for the top as well? Or?
So mine, I was musically inspired with mine. I was thinking of like a concert.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. So mine starts with Tell Me Why by Neil Young. So it's
Tell
like
me
the
why.
or Backstreet Boys. One of those.
Or in Spanish, dígame por qué.
Right? But it's like I wrote this down. It's like the show opens with this customer-centric angst. If you can't tell me who's it for and why it matters, you're just jamming to nothing. All right. So the middle part, or the second, is show me the way. Show me the way to business impact. So it's like, what's the impact of solving the problem? Tell me the who and the why. Let me start off. But then how do I know I've solved it? Right? If I go back and deliver something, how do I know I've solved for it? I got to be able to measure it. Right? This is like a constant struggle with a lot of product teams like going through a transformation. Okay. Now, the third one will not surprise any two of you, and that is the jobs to be done section of the concert. And there's a song by the Doobie Brothers called What a Fool Believes.
Yeah.
Right. I get deep into the product management concepts, right? The emotional, like, help me feel, the functional help me do, which is like the basic, and then the social help me seem, right?
So for you, I have jobs to be done in one of my bands as an item that lives in one of my bands. For you, it is a band.
It is a band.
It's
Jobs to be done is a band. Like, and I'll be honest with you, Todd, as soon as we even talked about this topic, when we met last, the first thing that popped in my head, like being true to me, one of the highest things I value, almost non-negotiable, jobs to be done. So it is a band on its own. And then my encore, which is like everything after that, is like Take It Easy by the Eagles.
Okay, interesting. Okay. So here's how I did my bands. So my innermost band, like the bottom band, is product law. So these are things like you break these and the whole top stops spinning. They're non-negotiables. It's funny, if you're not doing these things, you're not doing product is exactly how I defined it. So very similar to the way you defined it, Ryan.
Yeah.
They don't bend, they don't flex. 100 years ago, these were important. 100 years from now, they'll still be important. The next band I had was my product principles. These are like timeless truths, but there's some room for interpretation. I see these as ideas that can endure across industries, company sizes, different eras. But what's important here is it can be applied differently depending on the context. Third band up from that would be the product practices. These are where you have a lot of flexibility. In fact, I think most of the product debates exist here. These are different tools, frameworks, processes. Some things come in, they're useful for a while, and then we might replace it later. And then my topmost band I called style. And this is just how you show up. It's about what's right for one organization may not be right for another. What's right for one team may not be right for another. It can change by individual. This is personal approach. Mm-hmm. Different styles thrive in different environments. There's a lot of flexibility here.
I can appreciate the top of your band with like the industry, the culture, like knowing like that product management is nuanced. A lot of organizations miss this because they're trying to use new tools, they're trying to use these techniques, and sometimes they get too caught up in the framework, the processes, the ceremonies, the artifacts, and they forget that product management is more nuanced. Like we have to be flexible, or we have to be willing to understand that, or we have to be adaptable as product practitioners. Like I think that's a big takeaway as you're kind of walking through it.
So why don't we talk about that bottom band, the one at the tip of the ice cream? I don't know. So many metaphors now that I'm like,
bottom of
it's a hat on a hat on a hat. I don't even know what's happening anymore. Let's start with the bottom band, like that thing that you're not practicing product if you don't do this. What are, like, Ryan, maybe give me a couple of yours. I'll give you a couple of mine. Joe, maybe you could help us define what lives in your bottom band.
Yeah. So the one example I gave first was you are not the user as a kind of a universal truth. If you're not, or if you pretended to be the user or act as a proxy for them, you're not doing product management. Others would be...
Give me like another one. Maybe I'll give you one of mine.
Okay. Outcomes over outputs.
Ha ha ha. Ooh. I love that you said that. Describe why. I love this so much.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to guess you put it in a higher band than mine.
Oh, we got conversation coming. Let's go. Let me hear your reasoning.
So,
wow. This is getting spicy.
My reason here, so I was a little bit on the fence about this one, and I put it there because we're always looking to drive results for our user, results for our business, but through that user. And yes, we need outputs to generate those things. I don't want to lose sight of that, but I think it's more having that alignment around, we know what result we are trying to create. That is important to me as part of that. That's kind of like where I'm centering with outcomes over outputs.
Which is why it was my number 2, like my second level. So I'm with you, Ryan. I'm with you on like the criticality. But let me ask you this. Aren't there some scenarios where outputs are sufficient as a product manager? Todd, I know Todd's dying to say something. Todd,
let me jump in. So here's what I think is interesting. I think, man, outcomes over outputs has become a meme. I'm telling you.
No, man.
So in my product law band, I have that business outcomes must be tied to customer value. Now let me explain. But that's not my. But I have outcomes over outputs because I knew it was going to live somewhere in your bands. I knew it was going to be very high up there. I put it somewhere else. The reason I define these two differently is if you don't have any business outcome, then you're just building stuff for funsies. So it needs to be moving the business forward, or you're just building funsies, which is fine. I don't consider that like you're not really practicing product management unless you're trying to move a business forward. Outcomes over outputs, that's become this kind of meme mantra way of thinking. Like we always got to make sure that we have the outcome first. And to your point, Joe, in some cases in product management, you can't even measure the outcome yet. You can't. You may not even be certain of what the outcome is yet. You and sometimes the job is you got to get some stuff done. So I actually put outcomes over outputs in my product practices band.
Okay.
Because I see it as something that, like, if I want to as a product leader, I can instantiate outcomes over outputs, and I can make a big push for that and build a bunch of rules around that. But if I don't, I think I can live. So maybe I'm splitting hairs here, or maybe I'm just having an adverse reaction to that phrase because I'm so tired of hearing it.
Let me raise you. Outcomes over outputs with fall in love with problems, not solutions.
Oh yeah, there's another great meme that I love. I didn't have that one in here. I didn't have that one in here.
I don't think that one's been overused. Do you guys think that fall in love with problems and not?
I think I said that in an interview like 10 years ago or something.
Well, okay, but if you're not doing that, are you still a product manager?
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is I think that one I didn't have that one on here anywhere. I think I'd put that one in my product principles one. Okay. Now, look, it's funny is you're talking to someone who's obsessed with the problem space over the solution space.
Yeah.
But also sometimes I think there has to be a balance between the problem identification and the execution.
Yeah.
And so I might have it as a strong principle, but I don't know if I put it in my law category.
Okay. I've got one I think that won't be controversial that fits in. I think you guys will agree with me on this one. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Product management has to be a team sport.
1,000%.
I knew Joe would jump on that right away.
1,000%. But now, wait a minute. Startups are a little bit of a different beast, right? It usually has a founder, someone who's footing the bill. One could argue there may be a case where it's not a team sport. It's
okay.
I've got funding. I've got to make my money back. One could argue that maybe in that scenario, that nuance, it isn't a team sport.
All right. Let me again, nuance is here, Joe. Team sport implies multiple people working together, and there are situations where there are not multiple people. It's more because that one person could be functioning as the salesperson, the marketing person, the product person, the technical person. It's really about the connection that's happening and the coordination that's happening between those things that makes it a product law.
You know what's funny is I could be sold on that. But I'm also thinking about, is that the same even 10 years from now?
Like with AI?
Could it just be me and a bunch of AI agents?
But you have to coordinate those agents. They can't be running in different directions. People or bots, it doesn't matter.
So we consider the agents part of my team.
Absolutely.
They're team members.
Why not? Yes. I mean, they are. I absolutely. You have. So I read a statistic today, by the way, 779% increase in business quarterly earnings calls using the phrase agentic AI. 779% increase.
So dumb. Just so dumb.
I bet you 700% of them don't know what agentic AI even is.
I have no idea. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's so dumb.
So I got to tell you guys, I'm kind of surprised at the both of you.
Why?
In your product law, I don't hear the who. There's got to be a who.
Joe, that was the first one I said. You are not your user.
That was the first one Ryan said. My first thing in product law is you must solve a problem you must solve a real user / customer problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my first one too.
I've
never said my first one, but Ryan definitely said that, and I see the same way.
Because you're not the user. You're not the user.
Ryan said you're not the user. Yeah. So I see the same. Now what's funny though is I don't have personas. I don't have personas in law. I have personas all the way up in product practices in my third band.
That I don't find that doesn't give me heartburn at all.
Yeah.
Remind the audience again, Todd. So you have your product law. What's in the middle?
Principles, practices.
Principles, practices.
And then style. That was mine.
What would fall under principles?
So, that's a great question. Let's move on to band number 2 for all of us.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll kick off band number 2, principles. Remember, these are timeless truths, but there's room for interpretation.
Okay.
So let me throw out a couple. Oh, and I have some spicy things we could talk about later too. I have strategy is saying no. I have...
Whoa. Time out. You said strategy as saying no? Or is
strategy is saying no.
Is strategy... Okay.
Is saying no. Oh, you know what's funny? I guess I did have PM as a team sport because I have cross-functional alignment is not optional in my principles band. I also have Agile in my principles band. I have continuous discovery. And this one, I'm going to say one more because this one, when I wrote it, I'm like, oh, Joe's going to throw bricks at me. I have customer empathy in my principles, not law.
So you know what shocks me most about that list?
What's that?
Agile is that high up in your list.
Yeah. Knowing you, I'm like, are you like in a good mood today? How did Agile get so high in the Todd Blaquiere?
Now, maybe we should give Todd the opportunity to
define Agile.
himself.
Wait a minute, because this is a nuance here. Define Agile.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I don't define Agile about speed, although a lot of people define it by speed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think of it like, I'll say it this way. I'm thinking of it as a mindset.
There it is.
And I see it as a mindset that has lasted a long period. And I think if something can live about a 15-year lifespan, it deserves to be in the product principle space.
So It's a mindset, not a process.
Correct. Because safe.
Okay, that makes sense.
Safe, Scrum, all of that. I have Waterfall. I have all of that in product practices.
Right. Like we're using Kanban. That's like the level.
Product practice.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I would build, if I can, Todd, I would build off of your definition of Agile to say, I want to deliver value as soon as possible so that I know what the next thing to build is. So it's
I like
that,
your definition is great. Love it.
That's how I would have Agile defined.
You know, it's funny. I thought you'd be surprised that I put continuous discovery in band 2, not in band 1.
I am surprised. I'm surprised because I thought your middle name was Todd Continuous Discovery Blaquiere, or Todd I love experimentation, product management experimentation Blaquiere. Like I thought you just had like one of those really long middle names. And
so I could change my middle name to continuous discovery for sure. I'm starting. This is going to blow your minds even more. I'm seeing where Waterfall has validity.
Oh, yes.
I'm seeing where there are periods of things.
Yes.
Now, you're probably, as long as you know me and work with me, you probably will not ever see me part from continuous discovery. You know, right. That's probably unlikely. But I could see if an industry did, I could understand why they would.
So there were a few things you said in there that I do want to talk about too, because they were similar to what I had. I think it was stated just differently than you put, but say no to protect the yes. You can't do everything. Say no to protect this. And what did you say? It was about strategy. Like
strategy is about saying no.
Strategy is about saying no. And I think I could boil that down to one word: focus. You have to focus. I wouldn't want. So here's my definition. The one we talked about first, the unmittable laws, was you can't ignore it. This level would be, would I hire somebody if they didn't believe in this as a product manager? Like looking at it kind of that way.
Interesting.
So focus, we need to be able to choose the right battles and focus on them. That's kind of how I'm looking at that. And I'm seeing that as kind of the body of my cone. It's giving things structure, but there's still potential for it to fracture under pressure, or it could be misused sometimes if you look at it that way.
So I have a question I want to ask Todd. So the last few companies I have worked with, a lot of them are in situations where they are very highly vended out. Use vendors to build their IT. Yeah. And much of that is waterfall, SOW work. Can you practice product management in a scenario where you don't necessarily control the resources and you're relying on third-party vended products to supplement your product
100%.
Delivery?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Now,
no. I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why.
It still surprises me. You said surprises me a little bit here on, because like waterfall is tough because there's no agile.
I'll tell you why I say yes to that. Why I think that's possible. Because 1, you're trying to solve a real problem.
Fair.
2, you know what the business outcome is. 3, you're prioritizing this. You know what matters, what doesn't. Like that, to me, that's my product law there. I'm going back to my product law. You could do all that and then use vendors and find the right thing that you need to make that happen. That's still practicing product.
Todd, another one that was similar to mine, I had prioritizing learning over certainty, and I put that in the continuous discovery vein, but it's a little different here because I'm saying that yes, we should be doing discovery. It's not optional, but at the same time, that's not all we can do.
You know what's so funny about that? I couldn't get the wording right to write it, but I had the same thought. What I put in my law, though, was that you need both discovery and delivery, or else you're not actually doing product.
Okay, so we have product law, the non-negotiable. We have product principles.
So what was your second band called?
Oh, I called it doctrine.
Doctrine.
Yeah.
Doctrine is different from law in what way?
So doctrine is it's different from law in that it's close and they're shaping how you kind of think and lead. But if put under pressure and things start to fall apart, things can get sticky, but it's not the end of the world. Like we can kind of put it back together, and make it work.
How about this? Then your next one after that was principles, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I'm thinking your doctrine and principles is kind of a part A and B of what I have as principles.
Probably. Yeah.
And then what is the next band after that one?
So policies is what I called it. And I'm calling it. So the way I'm defining policies are very team to team or use what works until it doesn't kind of things. Like these help teams operate consistently, but they're situational, right?
Is that where you had personas?
Yes. That is where personas would fit.
What else? What else did you have in there? Give me a couple others. I'll give you a couple of mine.
So it would be things like your flavor of roadmap. It's an outcome-based roadmap.
Yes.
It's like,
I have the same thing.
Okay. So that kind of thing. It would be how you're splitting up product manager, product owner, product marketer.
Oh my gosh. I had product owners in there.
Yeah. So responsibility. Oh, Joe, you don't look like you like it.
But wait, teamwork. So teamwork means we have an understanding or an accountability among the different individuals that are contributing to the product. So you're more about the title of product owner. And I'm thinking about the accountabilities tied to the product owner. Maybe I'm splitting hairs.
No. So the way I'm kind of looking at it, Joe, think about this one. This is my policies or my second scoop of ice cream. They're very situational things because I have organizations I interact with all the time. Some of them might have a product manager that's wearing three hats: product manager, product marketer, product owner. And they hear about product owners and it's like the heavens have opened. It's going to fix everything. We need a product owner. And I have to be very frank with them and say, it's not going to fix all your problems. You have cultural things that need fixed first. You need to look at your context, your product, your user base, the rest of the organizational structure. It's very situational whether or not having that role and that responsibility will work.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can get behind that 100%.
Let me ask, did you have jobs to be done in this band?
So no, I would put that in principles. I would move that closer.
Oh.
Yeah. So
higher or lower?
So let's see. It would be lower in my cone of ice cream.
Lower means more important.
More. It's more important. Yeah.
I have it right squarely here in practices.
Okay. Why?
To me, it's just another practice. You could use jobs to be done if you'd like to. You can use customer journey maps. You could use user story mapping.
Right.
These are things that are practices that could be, this is almost like a buffet.
Yeah.
You can choose to use this, or you can choose not to use it and you'd be fine.
Yeah. I guess I put it in the more important for this reason. I could see that looking at jobs to be done as another jobs to be done template to fill out or pains and gains. That's not what I'm thinking about. I am thinking about answering the question of why do people use my product in the first place?
Look, I'm someone who does on a regular basis. You will hear me meeting say, what's the emotional job here? What's the social job here? I do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think a lot of people have built great products without thinking about an emotional or social job, just focusing on the functional.
But see, I think it isn't so much the theory or filling out the template. It's, do I understand what's important to my end user?
This is interesting to me because I kind of defined my bands with questions. So the area that I've put jobs to be done in is I'm defining that's the first scoop of ice cream. It is a personal truth. That is kind of what the person believes. So that's my first scoop.
Got it.
Yeah. So the second scoop would be, would I defend this if say I got dropped into a new job somewhere? Would I defend this among that group or would I adapt? So I'm talking about when I see jobs to be done, I probably would defend it. So that's why it's my personal truth. And Joe, I see where you go harder because I know you believe it. That is very foundational to Joe's practice of product management.
All right, I want to play a game, a mini game, but let's get to our last, our cherry on the top, and then
I'm like butterscotch.
here.
I'll forego the cherry for butterscotch, but I get
a butterscotch on the top there.
Butterscotch on the top.
Let's give some examples of that, and then let's play a game.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So for me, I'll go first. So how you show up, what's your organization? I call it style, right? What they tolerate. Mm-hmm. It includes team culture, personal approach. So I have things like the PM is the CEO of the product.
Oh my God.
Ugh. I can't believe you said that.
Ugh.
That's a style thing. So Joe, I think you've taken this as like, this is Todd's personal feelings of importance. None of these things are my personal feelings of importance. I'm looking at them as how vital important are these? How unchanging are they in the space of product management?
So it's not
at the very top. If you're an organization where that's a mantra of yours, so be it. That's fine. You're going to be fine. If it's not, you'll be fine too. It's completely unnecessary.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Style. A couple other things I have are things like product manager must be technical, industry domain expertise.
Oh, that one.
Product manager has to have UX skills. Those are all like those kind of things. All live there.
I love this list. It's perfect. Because of the way I looked at the cherry on the top. All right. Fun, fashionable, and fleeting. They should not be confused with the other things we've talked about here. They are useful tactics that come and go, but you do not build beliefs on them. And that's how everything you're describing.
Oh, that's cool. So give me some examples you had.
So, I mean, think about it like your flavor of the day prioritization technique.
Yeah.
Rice. Joe.
Wisdom.
Okay, the ceremonies. We're doing a stand-up. Okay. Or the tool that you use. Figma, Canva, Notion, Dovetail, Zapier, ChatGPT. Absolutely. Whatever. They're all in there. Or any template you see on LinkedIn. How about that? Any single one of them. I don't care. They're just outlets to communicate and organize. That's it. You can use multiples. So those are my examples. Hopefully that did the job.
Love it. All right, Joe, maybe you can kick us off in our mini game here.
Okay.
Think of any product related topic, throw it out there. Ryan and I could say what we have in our bands.
Stakeholder management.
Stakeholder management. So it's how you do it, not should you do it?
Should you do it?
All right. We could probably answer for both of those questions, how and should.
Yeah.
All right. Should is going to be more important than how. I'll say that. Should you do it? I would probably put that in the cone body, my doctrines, like put it there. Because you have to get the people that you're working with on board. I would say should, very important.
Well, I think this is cross-functional alignment is not optional. So I have that in my principles. I have that in my principles. So it's not in my law. Yeah. It's not in my law, but I do have it in my principles.
So and I put it in principles A in my list.
Can I do another one? Let me do another one.
So we gave you should, but I want to answer how.
Ooh, okay.
All right.
How
you manage stakeholders. I am going to say that is more of my first scoop of ice cream. So it's principles B. It's just a personal truth, and it's what works for me. It's about me, not about the organization.
I would have that in my style band.
Style. Yep.
It's everyone does it differently. As you do what works, and the same thing doesn't work at every company.
That's right.
With every person. So do the thing that works.
So I know both of you have used this, the Teresa Torres solution opportunity tree.
I have that in my practices.
You have that in your practices.
Okay. Opportunity solution tree. I would agree.
Yeah. I had another one, go-to-market planning.
Go-to-market planning. Ooh, I like this. So I actually had something relative to go-to-market. In my product practices, I had product manager leads go-to-market. I don't think as a business, you should plan how you're going to market. But in terms of a product practice, I think that could be dependent on the business.
Yeah, I'm calling that the first scoop of ice cream. One of my principles that as a best practice, using product to lead that effort and would be my default approach. It's guiding.
This is one that was controversial, I think, on a previous podcast. Product market fit.
Oh,
I had a tough time with this. Ryan, if you have a thought, I'd love to hear your thought. This one broke my brain as I was trying to put it somewhere.
it did mine too, because I'm kind of two minds with product market fit. So Joe, if you wanted to start a, Todd, you call it spicy conversation, get ready, because I have a feeling we're going to have one. That I call that a very foundational concept for product managers to understand valuable, viable, feasible. We got to know these things. However, I don't know if it's law. Like, you don't necessarily have to like go after it all the time. I guess where I get the most hung up is back to where I was saying prioritize learning over certainty, and product market fit kind of naturally makes people think certainty. Like, oh, we're certain here. And that's the thing. It's never certain. You're just kind of, it's more, I would rather say, no, just do continuous discovery and make sure you're asking the right questions about the business, about the user, about your solution, and to validate assumptions. And you're going to be okay. I don't know.
I'm going along the same lines. Feel free to boo me. I could understand why you would. So I had in my product principles, good product decisions balance desirability, feasibility, and viability.
Yes.
As a principle, that's a good principle to live by in product. When I thought about product market fit, I'm like, but if the question is, similar to our last one, if the question is, but does your product need to fit the market? Then that lives in my law.
There's a large number of people that have internal products as product managers.
Yeah.
Define market for an internal product.
So then the question is, are they really practicing product, or is product market fit not essential? Dude, I like where you're going.
Once in a while, I'll have a meaningful contribution on this podcast. That's it.
Once in a while,
just end it now. Let's just end it now. No, but
come on, bro.
But like, I think.
By the way, I think 80% of our podcasts start with something from you. So just I gotta say, like, our 80% of our episodes start with a line from you. Oh no, I think I'm hearing what you're saying. I love it so much that I want to do an entire episode on it.
Okay. Oh, I would love to do an entire episode on this.
For a large portion of my career, my product only served internal users.
Yeah.
And no product market fit was essential, right? I needed them to use it. Adoption. I needed product adoption, but not product market fit. You wouldn't call it that.
All right. So now let me give you guys another one.
Yeah. Positioning
statement and value proposition.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. When I used to get in front of clients, I used to hammer home and say, guys, this one of the single most important concepts I need you to walk out of here with is a positioning statement.
Yes.
Because everyone always struggled with the benefit.
Joe, you started with a template or a technique. Positioning statement. And what was the other one?
Value proposition.
Value proposition. By the way, value propositions are part of a positioning statement. So I'm gonna
they're combined. Yeah.
Firmly in practices for me. Those templates.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. And I want to start there, Joe. And this is what I mean. You're saying, I want you to leave. This is incredibly important to do this, but we have to walk backwards. Those things are practices. The only way to make them good is to work your way up the top or down the ice cream cone and do good discovery, understand who the user is. Otherwise, it's meaningless. Like they don't do anything.
Yep.
So you have to have the laws.
I will say product principle is if you just have positioning, if you just said positioning your product, that for me firmly lives in a product principle space.
All
okay. Right. I really want to pick one from this list here because I know it's a topic. I know it's a hot topic. Product-led growth.
So I think that's a flavor of the day.
Oh.
I think that's a fad.
That's a cherry?
That's a cherry. I think in 5 years, no one's going to use that term.
I'm going to do one level important to that and call it a second scoop policy. It's a house rule that you can swap.
I have it as a product practice. We're all about the same space. Well, I think we've probably jump into our takeaways. This has been a ton of fun. I would love to come back to this 5 years from now and see what we think of ourselves. Who wants to go with the first takeaway?
I'll go with the first takeaway. So my takeaway from all of this is how, just looking at the three of us, and I would say generally the three of us are pretty well aligned on a lot of this stuff, and how different we even came up with some of these answers. Product, it remains this mysterious role. I'm like, okay, what is it really? And how does it work? Mm-hmm. And I think it's important for people to know as you walk away from this conversation, put your own levels together. Understand what you think and believe. And that's going to help. Yeah, it's going to help you practice in your current seat and even look for new things in the future. Like, just do it yourself. Why not?
You know, what I've enjoyed about this conversation is it's a way for us to show our passion for what do we hold true? Because I think that comes across in the way that we interact with our product teams, or the way that we interact within our organization. Yeah. I lead with, and it's just because it's just the way I'm hardwired, jobs to be done. I've stopped using the term. Because I think it turns people off. I just ask, like, well, what does this person want to feel like? Or how do they want to be perceived? I think it's just in the way that we deliver our approach, or the way that we interact. It guides the way we have conversations with people.
Oh, I love everything you guys are saying. And you know, I think if I did this list 10 years ago, it would have been very different. Yeah, maybe not very different, but it definitely would have been different. And to your point,
five years ago,
Ryan,
very different.
I think there's a lot of value in people doing this for themselves, and knowing what matters to you. What matters to you? What is product management to you? Because it can vary. The other thing, last takeaway that I found doing this, once I had to put things on paper, put them in tiers, I realized how much of the things I do regularly, train my team to do, honestly, aren't that important and fundamental to product management. It's interesting. Now, I do believe in templates. I do believe in processes because you just need, it's a shorthand. It's a shorthand.
It's a guide.
Right. Yeah. You know how you're going to do it. You know you're going to use jobs to be done. You talk about users that way. It's a simpler thing, shorthand. But man, so much of it, I'm like, you can throw this out and still do product management. Very cool. This is so fun. I love it. I hope people, if anyone out there listening does their own, please share it. I would love to see everyone else's ice cream cone or top or whatever. I'd love to see what other people have.
I agree.
Absolutely. I would love to see what other people have too. Like, share it with us.
Gentlemen, it's been real.
Thanks, homies.
As always.
See y'all around.
See you later, guys.
Thank you for joining us on the Product Porch. We release new episodes every 2 weeks. You can also find us on LinkedIn for more content. We offer a special thank you to AJ and Jack Blaquiere for the music. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts of this podcast are their own and do not represent nor necessarily reflect those of their employer.